I'm not quite sure when someone doesn't take up the 3 minutes, do we actually take some marks off? What do you think? But it was very touchy, feely, and warm. No. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes, except for the person who sang.
He might have said everything he needed to say.
Okay. All right. Good. He's very good. We will let the audience, when we do the hand clapping, to debate at the end. So the captain of the affirmative side, arguing that GP training size does matter. We have got Captain Eva Paeko. Now, Eva, I know her for a long, long time.
Very long.
And I still don't know how to pronounce her name, and I feel very shameful. Because she distracts me by giving this sort of CV like this. Born and bred in multicultural Melbourne, with a first name pronounced many different ways. I thought she was trying to trick a person who's Chinese background. They can't do the V's and the W, the fly lies, and the V and the W. So I was very nervous on the plane. I kept asking Ed, is it Eva, Ewa, Eva? And someone said, Jerry Ingham said, don't worry, just go for Eva. Because you won't go wrong, Doris, because you can do Eva and Ewa. Then I didn't know how to do Paeko. Now I know why you put this down as your CV. You just want to be famous. Eva has been involved in GP training since her days as an RRO in the RAC GP training program. That's where we met. So long, in fact, she can't remember the last time a patient said, but you look too young to be a doctor. I'm afraid you still have that problem, Eva. Lucky you. Now, working as a GP and acting, Director of Training in Bendigo, Victoria. When asked how she got the position, the answer is, it's beyond me or beyond medical education. Now, I'd have to say, when I saw the name Beyond Medical Education, and being VMA myself, I said, beyond medical education? So what are you on about? What are you doing here? Thank you, Eva.
Well, excuse me, Madam Speaker. Just before you start the timer, Madam Speaker, if I do allow, I do actually remember a meeting the very, very first day I laid my eyes. No, this isn't Doris Young. The very first words Doris Young said to me as a young, naive medical student in 1992 was, if you want to be a successful doctor, you need a good nanny. I never got around to the nanny. Anyway, now, ready to go. I'd like to thank my opposition here, and you're right. Small can have big aspects and lots of positives, and so size does matter. Ed kindly spoke to us about all the different attributes that it takes to make great GP education, and I agree, I totally agree. I thought it was fantastic. We share the same vision. But how you can bring that vision into life depends on the size of the RTP and whether it's beyond the borders or not. I'm disappointed our opposition hasn't talked about how we can bring ourselves closer together by using Skype and teleconferencing and all that sort of stuff. So I thought that might be a way to bridge the distances and the size. But as we all know, that phone sex and internet dating is not quite like the real thing.
Yes, it is.
I'll come to you later. Obviously, there's a minister out there that thinks that size matters because they thought that less was more, and they thought that we needed to merge and get together, or maybe they just wanted less CEOs bothering them and eating into the training budget. And I'd like to go on to about our opposition here. It obviously matters to them. I'd like to think that Genevieve's size matters to her. CSTQ is obviously not big enough for her and to fill her needs. She has about 2,780 friends on her Facebook site.
Oh, no.
She posts video clips onto YouTube with about 5,000 hits. She's written plays called Death by Sausage that have been viewed by hundreds. And given that everyone in Queensland's already heard her opinions, she's now writes in Ausdocs so we can all share them. How big's big enough, Genevieve? Now, Robert Hale, I think you should watch your tail, because I think she's after you. And my dear friend Ed, we've shared lots of moments together where size might matter. But he left the juggernaut of VMA and Melbourne Uni, under the skirts of Doris Young there, to go to be a big fish in a small pond of Bogong, and the Royal Clinical School had become sub-dean. It made a difference to him. He was much more important. But his allegiances run very deep, and as Doris has mentioned, they shared the plane on the way over and the taxi, and he got his wallet out. So I call for an inquiry. I think this is rigged. May God save the Queen, because nothing is going to save the opposition in this debate. Ed got more time, so too. Now, my first thing when size matters, I also, like Nam, thought of John Buckley. Let's think about the people in general practice training and where size is important, because if John didn't have the big heart and his enormous wealth of knowledge willing to share with us, where would we be now? AMED would not be the same. If Robert Hale and Glenn McMahon only had small appetites and a small appreciation for good wine, RTP accreditation teams wouldn't be so content, so fat, so hungover. None of us would get accredited. Anne Davies, I hope you know you've got big bellies. Big boots to fill. If Simon, Sam, Jared and the other GPETs didn't have such huge egos, who would have kept us happy under the stars in Alice last year? If Coast City Country was just small 3 RTPs, you only have the coast or the city or the country. You couldn't surf in the morning, ski in the afternoon. You might have to go to work. If WA was divided up into small RTPs, what would you have? 1 ME, 1 registrar and 1 CEO. That wouldn't keep the Minister happy at all. In conclusion, thank you, Madam Speaker. Our colleagues here seem to suggest that size is no relevance, but keeping referring to it over and over again, it must be important to them. Bigger might be better, bolder, brasher and brighter. Smaller might be safer, sustainable, sympathetic and successful. That's why Sturt Fleurieu and Bogong are so scared. Where's the invasion going to come from? But whether it's the physical size of the training provider, the number of registrars, the IQ of the medical educators, the confidence of the supervisors, the circumference of the speculum, or more importantly, the check from GPET. I think my esteemed colleagues today have demonstrated in GP training, as in many avenues of life, for better or for worse, size does in fact matter. I rest my case.
Wow. Wow, that was a personal attacks on 20 people. Did you know that? She attacked 20 people to get that clap. That's right. To win, she would do anything. I shouldn't be afraid of Nam at all. I should be afraid of Eva. But of course, we've got a counterattack. This is getting really exciting. I love it. I just love it. I think it's getting... Genevieve, you've got to do this. I am going to egg you on. Yes, the captain. Genevieve Yates is going to counteract the attack. And we're going to rush out the door very quickly when the attack comes. Genevieve is a GP, and yet again, CSQTC. I think they're overrepresented here. Medical educator, science matters. Medical educator. Well, she's not healing the sick, Genevieve. You are teaching the healers. She indulges in many creative pursuits. A regular columnist for Australian Doctor, which I've read a few times, Genevieve. She had short stories, plays, a short film, and a novel, Silver Linings. I like that Pollyanna look. The silver lining is always good ending. You're published, very good. This debate will allow her to simultaneously do 3 things she loves. Perform to a captive audience, go for it. Rant without interruption, not true, I will interrupt you. And argue the validity of ridiculous viewpoint. No, we are serious. Genevieve, come over.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In GP training, size doesn't matter. Now, the opposition have given us many examples of when size does matter. Getting into dodgem cars, getting a boob job, being classed as a planet, looking good in drag, GPET conventions and speculum choice. Look, they are absolutely right. We agree. There are many times in life when size is important. Buying shoes springs to mind. And yes, fellas, it does matter when it comes to sex. Bigger is not necessarily better, though. Actually, it's rather like buying shoes. Small feet tend to flop around in big shoes, but try and cram a big foot into a tiny shoe, and the experience is rather painful, to say the least. Now, while GP training can be as enjoyable and as exciting as sex, or so I'm told, obviously by registrars who are having excellent training and very poor sex, but size, big or small, does not increase one's odds of reaching a satisfying climax. It's not a matter of one size of GP training fitting us at all. And we had a little bit of talk from the opposition about the ideal size, but they actually failed to tell us what that ideal size was. What we would like to say is size doesn't matter, big or small, it's what you do with it that counts. So Edmund has talked about what is important in general practice training: quality, budget, funding, passion, innovation, those kind of things. And Michael's talked about how being small can be good, that small and tiny RTPs spread over a large geographical area can have really quality training. Now, as has been mentioned before, I'm from Central and Southern Queensland Training Consortium, which is a name that is incredibly large and very difficult to say when inebriated. But we are, I'm reliably told, the largest RTP at present. So I'd like to say that although we are big, we have lots of ways of delivering quality training. So CSQTC is broken up into nodes and district. Each have their own node educator and have their own local training. So our registrars are very, how do I say? Well, basically, we provide really big registrars, juicy, heavy, meaty, really good for the GP marketplace. But our lumbering, heaving organisational mass doesn't matter when it comes to quality training because we're able to do it locally. So we had this question about Skype and what are ways of no thanks, Ed. Yes, his notes aren't particularly helpful. So, look, registrars aren't lost in the crowd with big organisations. They can be in big or small. It doesn't matter how big you are. It's what you do with it that matters. Thank you.